All motivation podcasts are strictly based on opinion. Any facts given should and will be backed up by a source. If a source is not given, then it should not be taken otherwise.
Now I'ma I get it until my numbers call. Till I'm just a name and a memory on my homies' wall. I be moving O's, I'm trying to just build my dough up. Till I'm just a snake and my toes up.
Welcome to the newest episode of Motivation Inspired and the seventh episode of our dating series, Dating Doomed or Destined. I, of course, am your host, Curtis Moore, aka Curly Mo, or you can just call me Mo. And as you can tell by the applause and by the sound quality that is different from before, I am very excited because, as I said, I was working on getting my podcast equipment, some better podcasting equipment, and it is a work in progress. And I am excited because I am getting closer and closer to where I want to be. So that deserves a hand clap. I don't know how all this is going to work, and if it sounds cheesy, I'm sorry, but I am just going to do me, and I'm going to work with this and see how things go. Okay. So, I do apologize for not having a podcast last month, but as you know, I did have trouble with my podcasting equipment, and I couldn't get the other one posted. So this actually is probably like the fourth time I'm going to be redoing this episode because the ones that I had recorded, the quality was bad, and the last one I had, I could not get it posted. It I it was a mess. So I just had to take some time off to be able to get things where I needed to be. So, with that being said, now hopefully I'll be able to give you episodes um, that are more quality and more stable. As I said in my last podcast, I was going to try to have an episode at least the first week of every month. But hopefully, now that my quality is better, and now that I've got better equipment, I'll be able to give you more episodes more frequently. But we're going to see how it goes. Um, Also, and I guess I'm doing my announcements before time, um, I have been kind of picking and playing with the video uh, podcasting. So hopefully that will get underway itself. I'm going to try to do a test run this week with it. It's either going to be this week or next week. So we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, throughout the episode, you might hear me playing with some sound uh, effects, as you've heard in the beginning. That, like I said, as you heard in the beginning. Like I said, as you heard in the beginning. Nah, okay, I'm done. I'm done. But anyway, um, and another announcement that I'm just gonna go ahead and do is, um, now that I got the or now that I got the equipment. Lord Jesus, I'm gonna have to do some editing. Now that I got the equipment that I have, not only will I be able to do more podcasting, but I will be able to have guests, and I could do phone calls. I could do face to face. I'll be able to do my video. So y'all prepare. My podcasting world is about to change. Definitely, it's about to change. I'm about to put myself out there. So if you are following my podcast, please share, spread the word and let everybody know that that motivation inspired is about to blow up. It is about to blow up. So let's just keep me in prayer as I move forward. That God keeps blessing me to do more and more and to help inspire people's lives one more time. And that's supposed to be at the end, but anyway. Let's get into the seventh episode of our dating series, Dating Doomed or Destined, where we are still trying to figure out if the dating world today is doomed or is it destined to get better. So today's episode is a subject that needs to be discussed. It is one that a lot of people has or is dealing with, and some that haven't but may end up dealing with in their life. A lot of people will find someone that they really like. The vibes are great. Dating is amazing. Sex is on point. Family will like you, and your family will like them. Y'all will get serious, and the next thing you know, the discussion of marriage happens. You get married, and fast forward to years later or however long, things didn't work out like you planned. Next thing you know, you find yourself signing divorce papers. After you hear those words or see them on paper, your divorce is final. You are left there thinking, what am I going to do now? So today's episode is called I Want a Divorce. That's right. It's called I Want a Divorce. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this right, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Petroli Privatera LLC, I hope I got that right, reports that according to the American Psychological Association, approximately 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce. The rate increases to 60 to 67% for second marriages. Also, according to them, the highest of the rate being young adults ages 35 to 39 occurring around the first 5 years of marriage, the first being the worst. So, majority of my audience is probably around that age. So, and I was around that age. I was actually a part of this thing because I just not too long ago got a divorce, and it is true on my behalf because my first year actually was my demise of my marriage. With that being said, it is safe to say that there are a healthy amount of people in the dating world that have been married before at one time. Before we get into the dating part after the divorce, we need to understand some things. Most of the time, after a divorce, you don't know if you want to get back out into the dating world. And if you did, you don't know how to get back out into the dating world on your own because things are so different. The divorce itself takes a mental toll on a person. So, added with the storms of the marriage, no matter what they are, it does a lot to your mental aspect. A lot of people that have been through a divorce understands this. Even though you might have divorced mutually, or if it was bad, or whatever, a divorce will take a mental toll on you. A lot of people, it takes a really bad toll. Some people, it's just a little, but it does take a mental toll on you because a divorce is a lot deeper than just papers. And we'll get into that later. But you go through these stages when you go through a divorce. And they may not be in this order, but majority of people will go through majority, if not all, of these stages at one point. You go through the storms of marriage itself. Whatever caused you to divorce, whether it was just two differences of opinions or lifestyles, whether it was infidelity, whether if it was abuse, whether it was finances, whether you just quote unquote lose love for each other, or whatever the case may be. The reason for the divorce alone takes a mental toll on you. Is one of the stages that you go through. That point, what I like to call the point that you said, okay, this is it. You go through the angry stage. The angry stage. This stage can come at any time. Like I said, all these stages may not be in any particular order, but they do. But the angry stage is a stage that people handle in different ways. But you do get angry, and some people they take it out in just a rage. Some people they do it behind closed doors. Um, some people go to counseling. I mean, it's just different ways you handle this stage. But at one point, you do get angry. You start thinking about, why you're divorcing. You start thinking about what caused it. You might get angry at yourself. You might get angry with your partner. Um, you might just get angry for with somebody for no reason at all. But at one point, it does happen. So that is the angry stage. Another stage you go through is or what I like to call the I'm outside stage. Uh, this stage is when you start doing things, like go out. Um, you go out with friends. You try to go out and date, even though some people do it before the divorce is final. You start going out to eat, going to clubs. You might just go shopping. You basically what you're doing is you're doing things to distract you from the divorce. That's what you're doing. You do things to distract you from it. Like I said, whether it is final or you're in the stages of, but you go through the I'm outside stage. Another stage you go through is the why was I not enough stage. This is more of a mental thing. Um, you start to think about the divorce and why was what caused the divorce. Um, and you start getting into deeper feelings. You start thinking, why are we doing this? Was I not enough? What did I do wrong? Why did I do that wrong? If it was, my fault. Um, what could I have done better? you start thinking about those things, and you start kind of, some people kind of get down on themselves during this stage. Um, some people get self conscious. I mean, it's different things going on here, but like I said, it's more of the mental when you go through this stage. Also, another stage you go through is the I don't feel like it, leave me alone stage. Well, that's what I call it. And this stage, you just really get to a point to where you don't feel like doing anything. Some people go through a depression in this stage. Some people just want space. Um, like I said, the mental toll that you take when you have a divorce is a deep thing, and people don't realize how deep it is, but it is such a deep thing. So you want space. You want space. Friends might ask you to go out or go somewhere, and you're like, nah, you know what? I don't. I just, I'm just gonna go home. I got some things to do around the house. I got to do this with my kids. I got to do this and that. You start making excuses, or some people flat out say, I just don't feel like it. You just get to a stage where you want to be to yourself. And as long as it's something that doesn't take a deep effect on you, some people need that. Some people need that stage. I went through that stage. I went through all of these stages, all of them. And especially this one, the it's really over stage. This stage, basically, you start to realize, man, we're really doing this, or the divorce is final, and you're like, wow, we really did divorce. I mean, and this stage again, it doesn't hit, or it hits people at different times. Um, some it hits them during the process. You're like, wow, this thing is really over. Some hits when they hear those final words, your divorce is final. That's when you're woken up. Some people it don't hit too well after that. For me, um, it hit me when I started looking at the house, and I started noticing I still had things the way that she or me and her had decided to keep things. And all of a sudden, I just get the urge to want to do my thing, as far as rearrange the house the way I wanted it and stuff, and the way I cook food and all that stuff. It just hit me. It was like, wow, this it's really over. Um, I don't have someone to come home to say put this here or put that there. That goes here. That goes there. You know, I don't have to come home and um, the food is already done. I come home and have to cook my own. Um, I don't have somebody to come home and say, no, not that color. Simple things, but it did hit me. Like I said, all of these stages hit me in a way. I remember when I finally got angry. I remember that. Yeah, I did get angry. Like, really, what the hell? What? Why? I'm sick of it. I remember when I was going out. I know my friends. I had two guy friends that I would bug half to death because these two guys, they actually went through a divorce, so they helped me through a lot of this. They really did. And if they ever listen to this, um, Willie and BJ, I really appreciate y'all. But I would drag them out every weekend, and we wouldn't do nothing just wrong or anything. It was just the fact that, I wanted to be with some people, to enjoy my time. And we would go out, some I think they got tired of me eventually because they finally started having things to do, quote unquote, which I'm not saying they didn't, but you know, it is what it is. But they helped me through a lot. We went out, we just enjoyed ourselves, we talked. I bugged them half to death about what was going on, and I know they was tired of hearing it. Um, it was crazy, but I went out for a while. I did. I did the point where I wasn't enough. I sat there. I live out in the country, and I would sit out on my porch at nighttime, hearing the crickets chirping and stuff, and my mind would be in deep in thought, and I was like, why was it like this? Why can you have seen this? Why can you have seen that? I would get in deep in thought about that stuff. I don't feel like I got to a point to where people would ask me to do things. I ask me to go to these churches and stuff, and I would be like, I got this to do, I got that to do. When really it was just at a point to where I was like, I just don't feel like it. I just don't. I didn't want to tell them that, but I was just at that point. And I think my mom, I think she knew because there was times where she would just say, well, just come over to the house. I fixed some lunch. I fixed some supper. Just come over to the house to eat, and then you can go back home. So, I mean, she's been through some divorces, so I think she knew what was going on. But I went through all of these stages, and you go through them too. If you hadn't been through a divorce, or if you have been through a divorce, you know that I'm right. There's probably more stages than that, but them were the main stages that I wanted to hit because that's basically what I went through. As I said, they may not go in any particular order and may not have a time frame, but most people that has been through a divorce that I have talked to have went through these stages. I asked several people that's been through a divorce. I didn't come right out and say, "Did you go through these stages?" No, I didn't do all that, but I did ask some questions that made me realize that yes, they was going through these stages. I remember I asked my friend BJ. I said, I just don't feel like doing anything. Did you ever go through that stage? And he was like, yeah, I went through that. I sure did. He said, you gonna go through that. I asked my mom about some of these things. Like I said, I didn't come right out and ask as far as is this a stage you went through, but I basically asked, did they ever feel this way? So yeah, it is what it is. So now it boils down to, is it time for me to get back out there? Is it time for you to get back out there? After your divorce, when is the best time for you to get back out there? If so, how do I get back out there? How? How? I ask myself that. How do I start back trying to date? When is a good time for me to get back out there? A lot of people go through these different times where they try to feel, they try to figure out when is the best time to go back out there. Like I said, I did go through that. Is it applicable to start trying to date um, when the papers are signed or when the divorce is finally final? Because anybody that goes through a divorce knows that it takes at least 90 days for it to become final. That's a clause. That's a clause here in Mississippi. I don't know if it's everywhere, but I definitely know here in Mississippi it's a clause. Or after the divorce is final, or when you just feel like it's time for you to go back to dating. Again, everybody's different. So it boils down to your individual feelings about, is it time for me to get back out there? Is it time for me to get back out there? That's a decision that you have to make. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break, and when I get back, yeah, I said when I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break. And when I get back, we're going to finish talking about I want a divorce. Just like the podcast, everyone is different. So it is undetermined when this will be good, but when you feel like you can, then do so. And this is addressing dating after a divorce. When you feel like that it is time for you to get back out there, then do it. But there are some reasons why people decide differently on when it's best to go back into dating. For some people, the best medicine would be to wait until they are completely over the divorce or the person. Either or and. Basically what I'm saying is sometimes people have to take care of themselves because they're not over that the divorce happened, or they're not really over the person, especially if there was infidelity involved. They have to take that time to get over that because they supposedly found themselves, or they're trying to find themselves. I hear all the time people that go through divorces and even just bad breakups talk about trying to find themselves and trying to find who they are and things like that, which is all fine and stuff. But what I have a problem with is sometimes people do too much of trying to find themselves when their selves is there. They just don't want to accept it. They allow things to they allow obstacles to be in the way. They allow things to block their mental state. And sometimes they just need to let go of what's bothering them or what's got them on a hold. So don't get too comfortable with trying to find yourself, because that's when you miss great opportunities. Uh, there's times where I wish I just would have just said, look, I'm just going to let this go and I'm going to date this person because it was a great opportunity and I missed that opportunity. And you shouldn't want to miss an opportunity to date somebody that could be potentially yours. I mean, true enough, people say all the time that if you let something go, if it comes back to you, then it was yours. But then you hear a lot of people when they let somebody go and they brought them back or they came back, that they say, I wish I had listened the first time, or I wish I hadn't let time fly by before I went on to act on this. So you better not get too comfortable. And I'm not sitting here saying just accept it when they come to you or anything. All I'm saying is don't get too caught up into wanting to find yourself that you miss those types of opportunities. For some people, it takes someone applying the right amount of pressure. Sometimes it takes somebody coming in and showing you the love that you was missing in your relationship, especially if there was infidelity or abuse involved. Sometimes we're just afraid to get out there because of the trauma that we endured in that marriage. So sometimes it does take a person coming in and showing you love. Now, I'm not sitting here saying jump on the bandwagon just as soon as it comes up. But what I'm saying is allow yourself the chance to see if that person's going to be worth it. Take your time. Check the person out. See how their mindset is. All of that. Sometimes it just takes that. Sometimes it takes you having to uh, put your trust in to somebody to see if it's going to work out. So keep that in mind also. Another thing is, as bad as this sounds, for some people, they need a distraction to get them through the pain of divorce. This is dangerous because you could unintentionally hurt someone that is innocent. Yes, that is a dangerous thing, but sometimes it takes being distracted. Sometimes people are so caught up into their trauma and into um, what went on in the divorce that they need a distraction. So some people date several people. And now don't get it confused with being a hoe with several people. I said date several people. And that means they go on different dates with different people to get to know a person so that their mind is distracted from what they're going through. So being distracted can be a good thing, but also that's where communication comes in. You should communicate to that person that is wanting to date with you or the people that are wanting to date you and tell them, look, this is what I'm going through. Uh, don't expect anything serious or don't expect this or that right off the bat. Let's just let nature take its course and do our thing. And open communication is good. Communication, period, is good. That's why a lot of marriages and relationships fail because of bad communication. And that's why a lot of people get misinterpretation of things because we tend to let our actions be different from what our words are. So make sure that they understand where you're at right now and what it is that y'all are accomplishing at the moment. When getting back into the dating world after a divorce, you may feel a difference. A marriage/divorce will change your mentality, as I stated earlier. When this happens, you will have a different outlook when you enter the dating world. A lot of people just think marriage is paper and divorce is paper. But marriage and divorce are very deep. It's a very deep spiritual thing. And if you don't believe in spirituality, it's just deep, period. It's very deep. A lot of people don't understand it. You can't just look at a married couple and a divorced couple and think you know what you're doing. That's where I made my downfall. I was around all these people going through marriages and divorces and everything, and I'm thinking, I can do this and do that and be okay. But it is a lot deeper than that. Getting a divorce is different than a big breakup or being with somebody for years and breaking up. It is different. It's like it's something deeper. It's hard to explain, but only divorced people will understand. When I knew it was over, I thought that I would be okay because it was over. And I was eventually okay, but something inside you really do break. Some inside you really do break. In a marriage, Marriage is different than a relationship. A lot of people think that it's the only difference is paper, but it's not. Marriage is work. It's different. It changes your personality. So you tend to do things different. So after you go through a divorce, your mentality do change. It really does change. You don't look at people the same way when you're dating anymore. I don't talk the same way with somebody dating as I have before. So here are a few things that do change. Your tolerance level, most of the time, may be lower. You tend to not tolerate as much. For me, I got more observant. I listen to what people say and how people move. And if they moved the slightest way, in the slightest way that made me question, I was quick to cut them off. Real quick to cut them off. So you don't tolerate as much. You really don't. You don't tolerate excuses as much. There's a lot of excuses people make that you tend to not tolerate because you done been to the mountaintop, as I called it, and now you're back down at the bottom. So since you know what the mountaintop has to offer, you tend to not tolerate things, certain things. You may be rusty, as I call it. You may not remember how to conversate or maintain a conversation. That's another thing I found in me that was crazy. I had gotten to the point to where I am a talkative person. I'm a detailed person, as you can tell through my podcast. I could talk a lot. So it wasn't hard for me to get a conversation or keep a conversation going. But whenever I got back out into the dating world, I didn't even know how to get a conversation started to let the person know I was interested. It was crazy. I was rusty as hell. I really was. You just, I don't know. I mean, eventually I was able to maintain, but now that my mentality is different, conversations isn't what they used to be. So, but I did, or I was able to learn how to get back into dating conversation. You may hold your standards higher. As I said earlier, you have been to the mountaintop and now you're back down there. So you know what the mountaintop has to offer. So you hold your standards higher. It goes back into tolerating things. There's a lot of things that we don't tolerate. There's a lot of things that you look into a partner that you want out of that partner that is higher standard than what you wanted before. The way somebody talks, the way somebody acts, how they treat you, what they're looking out of you, what their mindset is. I was about to say brain set. Yeah, I do got sound effects. Y'all, this is crazy. I'm going to learn how to use them and use them right. They're so cheesy, though. I ain't going to lie, they're cheesy. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. You have a higher standard that you're looking for in that partner. So if they aren't up to that standard, we tend to let them go. Instead of having a dating vibe, you may have what I call a homestead vibe. Now, before you get married and everything, when you're out in the dating world, you're not so homey, as I say. You'll take them out to the on a date and want to go to these different places and want to do things and get freaky, whatever the case may be. And you're in that dating mode. But after you done married and had a divorce, you're in that homestead mode. Yeah, sure, you go out on dates and do some of the things that you've done before, but you're okay with, hey, why don't we just go home or go to your place and just watch a movie and just relax? Why don't we just do something with the kids? Why don't we just chill at the house? I'm good with that. So you get more of a homestead mentality. Not saying everybody does, but most people that have been married and divorced, they do. Now some they won't because of what they went through in their marriage. They go buck wild, and it's understandable why. But a lot of people go into that homestead mode. You tend to be more cautious about who you choose to date. And this goes back to all the stuff I was saying earlier, your tolerance level, your standards, and all that stuff. You tend to be more choosy about who you date, and a lot of times, that's stuff that happens right off the bat. Like, for me, I could sit there and look at a person and hear how a person talk, and I'll be like, there's this one instance where, oh my goodness, I get on my boy for this all the time. When I was in my I'm outside state, we was going to these little bars and just chilling and seeing who we can talk to. Well, there was this one time we went to a place called Steele's Dive, um, and I was in the mode of just wanting to just chill and talk to my boys and stuff. And I see these girls and stuff, but I happen to have been um, watching this one girl, not intentionally, but I mean the way that she was acting, and I saw that she was going to different guys and being some type of way with the guys. I ain't gonna say freaky, but you could tell like she was trying to get their attention. And I noticed her demeanor and stuff. And my boy was like, "Well, there's somebody. Why don't you go holler at them girls over there?" And I was like, "No," nah, because I had already done peeped them out. He didn't know I had done peeped them out, but I had already done peeped them out. But he and kept on, and he finally decided, well, if you're not gonna talk to him, then I'm gonna talk to him. And I was like, well, don't talk to him on my behalf. And he kept on, and he said he's gonna go talk to him for me, and went over there to talk to him. So I mean, at that point, I got upset, but I mean, it is what it is, and he gonna scream across the place. The girl said, "Come here so she can talk to you." I said, "Okay." So I came over there, and I was being the respectable guy I was. "Hi, I'm Curtis. What's your name? This is where I'm from. Blah blah blah." And I didn't come at her any kind of way. He walked away, and so I had a little conversation and asked why they was here and everything. And just by the atmosphere in the air and the look on their face, I could tell they wasn't interested. And so I said, "Well, you mind if I get your number so we can have a conversation later?" And she was like, "Why do you want my number?" And I said, "Just so we can have a conversation later." She said, "Well, you don't have to have my number for that." So I said, "Well, that's fine." I said, "Well, here's my number." And no, let me take that back. She turned around and said, "Well, let me get your number." I said, "If I give you my number, are you going to really call it or text me, or are you just going to act like you took it and then not say anything?" And she was like, "No, no, I'm going to call it. I'm going to text." I said, okay, which in my head I already knew that she wasn't going to. So she turned around and she supposedly, quote unquote, got my number. And I said, well, call my number and make sure that I get yours. So she was like, okay, she tried to dabble with her phone and hit the call button, but then hang up real quick and was like, I've been trying to call. I was trying to call you. It's not going through. I said, yeah, right. I said, you got my number. I said, if you didn't want to talk to me, all you had to do was turn around and tell me you didn't want to talk. She said, I'm calling. I said, okay. And I said, well, y'all have a good night. But next time, be adult enough to tell me that you didn't want to talk to me. And I walked away. And I got on my homeboy so bad about it. And he was like, well, she said she was in. I said, I done already told you. I don't need nobody to talk for me. I can do it myself. But the point of the matter is, you get choosy about who you want to talk to and date. And I had already saw what that girl was on. So I knew that it wasn't anything about me. And I hate to say this, but the other couple of guys that she got their attention from looked and was built a lot better than I was. Dead serious. So, point of the matter is you get choosy about who you date. And I'm at a point in my life, or I was at a point in my life where I was basically picking and choosing and deciding if I could date that person or not, especially after what I went through. After a divorce, do not be afraid to move on. It's going to feel different and it's going to feel weird, but please move on. Do it at your own time, but please do it. A lot of people are so caught up in their feelings about a divorce and so caught up with the person that they divorced from and everything that it's hard for them to date. It's hard for them to move on. Just like I said earlier, you can't turn around and allow obstacles and those types of things block the opportunity to move forward. Because 9 times out of 10, that partner probably done moved on anyway. So you have to allow yourself to make that step forward and say, you know what? I know I'm still hurting and I know I'm still dealing, but I got to step my pinky toe into this pool and make a step towards this moving on pool. And that's what you got to do. Allow yourself to be happy again. Allow yourself to enjoy life again. Not saying that you wasn't enjoying it before, but most of the time we go through a dark period when we have a divorce, and you got to allow yourself to see the light. So allow yourself to move on. It's okay to step out there and move on. And sometimes you have to step out there and see if you're ready. And it's okay if you're not when you step out there. Just take a step back, take a little while longer, and then don't get boggled down with not taking a step again. Just move forward. If you are dating someone who has just been through a divorce, be patient, but also be cautious. The mindset of that individual may still need some time, but it also may need for you to be supporting. That's the thing with somebody going through a divorce. Their mindset is not really that stable. You got all these different emotions going on when you're divorcing or even after divorce. A lot of times it takes a long time, and I'm not saying with everybody, but because some people, signing the papers was all they was waiting for. Everything was over a long time ago. They just need to sign the papers. But sometimes you deal with people that is still going through, or after the final, you know, after divorce is final, they still have to heal mentally. So if you dating someone or you start talking to someone that has just been through a divorce or is going through a divorce, be very supportive, be there for them, but also don't get so caught up in them that you don't see the big picture. Don't get feelings caught up in it to the point to where you make them even more confused. Take your time with them. Be there for them. The best thing that you could do is be supportive and be there for them. Ask them if they want to talk about it. If they don't, then that's fine. Just allow them to go through the motion. It is as important for you to be supportive as it is for them to move on. And if you feel like that you can't be that person, then be man or woman enough to go to them and say, look, I can't do this, and I'm not trying to lead you on in any type of way. So I am going to step away and let you handle your business. And maybe when you're ready, we can come back and we can talk about it. So be man enough or woman enough to be able to do that. So I made my announcements at the very beginning of the show. This month is going to feature this double feature, which I'm going back. This is actually supposed to have been posted in October, but because, as you well know, I've had difficulties with my equipment, I am posting it now. So, but I'm going to do a double feature. I got this one in November, and I'm going to do another one here in November to make up for it. As I said before, and you may hear some noise in the background, but that's because I have people in the other room, but it's okay. But what I was saying is I'm doing this and I'm going to do another one. And I may start doing more frequent podcasts. I am going to, again, dabble into my video podcast, and I'm going to get that going. And I'm going to start having guests. So a lot of that is going to, you're going to see a lot more, especially the beginning of the year. As far as my dating, doomed or destined, is coming down to an end. So y'all better pay attention to these last couple of shows. I hope y'all have enjoyed my series, and I hope I've gotten to some points that may have helped you. But it's gonna start coming to an end or coming to a close. So y'all pay attention. Which brings me to my next podcast that I'm gonna do. Like I said, it's going to be an interview. Actually, I'm going to have guests on this one. It's going to be called Male versus Female, the Ongoing Battle. And this is going to get the perspective of a female and a male in the dating world. It's going to be pretty good. I'm excited. It's going to be a first, and I'm hoping I can move forward with more like this and have more guests on my podcast. So let's just see how it goes. The YouTube binge song of the week is for you old school gospel lovers that remember those old school hymns that our grandparents and our great grandparents of my generation used to sing. The one song, or this one song, is a song by the GMWA Men's Chorus. And it is called Glory to His Name. Not the upbeat, fast version, but the nice and slow, easy version. That's what my church does. It does a slower version, and I like it better. So, listen to it. Glory to His Name by the GMWA Men's Chorus. So, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Like I said, it's a double feature, so I'm going to do another one for November, and I'll probably do one. I'll probably start doing some more frequently. But thank you for joining us, and as always, I hope that I can motivate and inspire your life one more time.